a sweltering summer afternoon. The harsh sunlight beat down on the bustling streets of downtown. The towering glass buildings reflected the blazing sun, creating an atmosphere of oppressive heat and stifling air. The incessant honking of car horns blended with the hurried footsteps of passers-by, weaving a symphony of urban chaos. Amid the rush of city life, a man appeared, John, a refined black gentleman. He walked slowly along the sidewalk, unhurried unlike the others around him. The white shirt he wore had faded with time, neatly tucked into a pair of plain trousers, and his old shoes bore a few scuffs. He looked like any ordinary working man, perhaps an employee finishing a long shift or a father on a mission to buy something essential for his family. But upon closer inspection, one could see that there was something special about John. His irradiated confidence. It wasn't the arrogance of self-assurance, but a profound belief emanating from his calm and composed demeanor. Each step John took was measured yet purposeful, as though he knew exactly where he was going and why he was there. John turned into the entrance of a small car dealership located on the busy street, where shiny cars were displayed under dazzling lights. A cool breeze from the air conditioning greeted him, banishing the sweltering heat outside. Inside, the dealership exuded sophistication with its polished tile floors, modern decor on the walls, and rows of expensive cars lined up in perfect symmetry. The staff, dressed impeccably in matching uniforms, exuded professionalism, but their glances subtly suggested that this wasn't a place meant for those without the means to afford it. The contrast between John's appearance and the surroundings was so stark that everyone noticed it. A few glances from the staff and customers darted his way, quickly assessing him based on his modest attire. But this didn't bother John. He walked into the main lobby with a calm demeanor, as if he was long accustomed to such looks. John approached the reception desk, where a young woman sat, engrossed in typing on her keyboard. She seemed oblivious to his presence until John spoke, his voice gentle yet clear. "I'm looking to purchase a luxury car. Could you recommend a model that might suit me?" The receptionist looked up, momentarily surprised. Her eyes quickly scanned him from head to toe, as if trying to ensure she wasn't mistaken. The hesitation in her expression was evident. She might have been wondering why someone with such a modest appearance had walked into a place where the price of a car could reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. Before she could respond, a tall salesman with blonde hair swiftly approached. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, shiny leather shoes, and a smile seemingly designed to impress customers. However, when his eyes swept over John, the smile quickly vanished, replaced by a smirk of disdain. He leaned toward a nearby colleague and muttered, loud enough for John to hear, "Look at him, he probably couldn't afford the car's logo, let alone the whole vehicle." The words hung in the air, cold and dripping with sarcasm. Yet John remained composed. He didn't show a flicker of anger or irritation, merely responding with a faint smile, as if the salesman had said something too trivial to warrant concern. Once again, the contrast between John's understated presence and the dealership's opulent setting was impossible to ignore. A few glances darted his way, but his calm and unbothered manner suggested that he was no stranger to such judgments. John approached the reception desk, where the young woman finally took notice of him after his gentle yet assertive question. "I'm looking to purchase a luxury car. Could you recommend a model that might suit me?" Her initial reaction of surprise quickly turned into uncertainty as she scrutinized his appearance, seemingly questioning why someone with such a modest demeanor would step into a showroom filled with cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Before she could formulate a response, the tall blonde salesman intervened. His polished suit and rehearsed smile made it clear he was skilled at making an impression, but when he looked at John, that practiced smile evaporated. Replaced by a sneer, he leaned toward his colleague, muttering loud enough for John to catch every word. "Look at him, he probably couldn't even afford the car's logo, let alone the whole thing." The cold, mocking tone filled the space, but John, unfazed, maintained his calm. There was no flash of indignation, no rebuttal. He smiled lightly, as though dismissing the comment as something not even worth his time. John nodded, his gaze shifting to the display area, and spoke with a calm demeanor. "I'd like to see that luxury sports car over there." Could you introduce it to me? The blonde-haired salesman, though visibly reluctant, led him to the display area. His tall frame stood in stark contrast to his lackluster attitude. He explained the car's features in a detached tone, making no effort to be persuasive. Occasionally he glanced at John with a look of disdain, as if he deemed John unworthy of his time. When John asked a few questions about the price and functionality, the salesman interrupted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "This is a car for people who can afford it. You understand, not everyone can buy it. Are you sure you can?" John maintained his serene smile, though a sharper gleam momentarily flashed in his eyes. He didn't argue, nor did he explain himself. Instead, he thanked the salesman, his voice as gentle as when he first spoke. "I'll need some time to think it over. Thank you." Before leaving, he paused, locking eyes with the salesman, his voice warm yet carrying an enigmatic undertone. "Thank you. We'll meet again soon." John exited the dealership, leaving behind an unusual atmosphere. Curious glances and mocking smiles from the staff trailed him, but none of it seemed to bother him. He departed with a composed stride, but a perceptive observer might have noticed something in his eyes, an air of resolve, as though a plan was already taking shape. The next morning, the golden rays of dawn streamed through the dealership's glass windows, reflecting off the gleaming cars in the showroom. The staff began their day as usual, exchanging idle chatter or organizing paperwork at their desks. The atmosphere was quiet and routine, just like any other day, until the soft hum of a luxury limousine's engine disrupted the calm. In front of the dealership, a sleek black limousine glided to a halt. Its polished exterior shimmered under the morning light. The car door opened and John stepped out. This time he was entirely transformed. Dressed in a finely tailored black suit and polished leather shoes that glinted in the sunlight, he exuded an aura of authority and sophistication. Accompanying him were several individuals, all impeccably dressed as senior managers and personal assistants, each carrying themselves with a seriousness that mirrored John's commanding presence. The previously quiet atmosphere was now filled with an unusual tension. The dealership staff, one by one, paused whatever they were doing and stared at John. Some recognized him immediately, their faces showing brief moments of confusion. The receptionist, the young woman from the previous day, was the first to realize who he was. Her eyes widened in shock, rendering her speechless. Meanwhile, the blonde-haired salesman, the one who had mocked John the day before, stood frozen in a corner of the lobby. When his gaze met John's familiar figure, his entire body stiffened. His face gradually lost its color, and his eyes wavered between bewilderment and fear. He seemed to understand that something serious was about to happen. John paid no attention to the curious, worried or fearful stares around him. He maintained his calm demeanor, his stride slow but commanding. Each step he took echoed clearly on the polished tile floor, affirming his powerful presence. He walked straight to the main lobby area, where a large conference table was positioned for important meetings. John stopped there, turning to face all the employees. His voice rang out clearly strong. "Good morning. I am John Williams, the president of the company that has just acquired this dealership as of today." The room fell into absolute silence. The murmurs and whispers instantly ceased. All eyes were fixed on John, some filled with shock, others with confusion. No one could believe that the modest man they had dismissed or mocked the day before was now their new boss. The blonde-haired salesman, who had exuded arrogance and disdain just yesterday, was now stammering, his lips trembling, unable to form a coherent sentence. He lowered his head, avoiding the piercing gaze of John altogether. John's sharp eyes swept across the room, pausing briefly on the receptionist before lingering longer on the blonde-haired salesman. Then he spoke again, his voice deep and authoritative. "Yesterday I didn't come here to buy a car. I came to evaluate how you treat your customers. And I'm sorry to say that I was disappointed." John's words echoed clearly and decisively, freezing the entire room in an instant. No one dared to utter a single word. A few employees began to lower their heads, avoiding his. Continued, his sharp eyes fixing on the blonde-haired salesman. His tone grew more severe. "Success doesn't come from expensive cars or big deals. It comes from how you treat every customer, regardless of who they are or what they look like. If you cannot respect your customers, you do not deserve to be here. Silence enveloped the room, and in that stillness, John's words seemed to resonate deeply with everyone. The blonde-haired salesman lowered his head even further, his hands clenched tightly together. John took a deep breath and continued, his voice regaining a calm yet commanding tone. Starting today, this dealership will have a strict evaluation system for service quality. Every one of you will undergo retraining, particularly on professionalism and customer attitude. Those who fail to meet the standards will have to leave. These declarations hung heavily in the air. Some employees exchanged anxious glances, while others nodded quietly, understanding that this change was necessary. John concluded the meeting with a powerful message. Remember, every customer who walks through these doors could be an opportunity to change your life. Don't let arrogance or prejudice blind you. He walked out of the lobby, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with tension but filled with determination. The employees, though initially bewildered, gradually began to realize that they had just experienced a pivotal turning point. Meanwhile, the blonde-haired salesman stood frozen in place, his eyes full of fear, as if he finally understood that his attitude the previous day had cost him a significant opportunity in life. Recognizing the deep-rooted misconceptions and misguided attitudes among his staff, John quickly devised and implemented a comprehensive training program focusing on 3 core principles. A mindset of respect for customers. John invited leading psychologists and customer service experts to the dealership to train his employees. One of the most impactful exercises was a session called Putting Yourself in the Customer's Shoes. Employees were tasked with role-playing as customers from various walks of life, ranging from working-class individuals to wealthy business people. This activity helped them understand what it felt like to be judged based on appearances, ultimately shifting their mindset and behavior. John also organized open discussions where employees could share the prejudices or challenges they had faced in their own lives. During one of these sessions, only when you understand the feeling of being judged or disrespected can you truly offer respect to others. Professional communication skills. John understood that not all employees naturally possessed effective communication skills. To address this, he brought in top trainers in soft skills to teach employees how to actively listen, ask thoughtful questions, and handle challenging situations with finesse. One of the most engaging lessons was titled The $1 Million Smile, where employees learned the importance of offering a friendly, genuine smile and how it could create a positive and lasting impression on customers. Ethical work practices. John emphasized that selling cars wasn't just about closing deals but about building trust. He often reminded his employees, customers may forget the price, but they will never forget how you made them feel during the transaction. Never deceive them for short-term gains. To instill this value further, John didn't limit the training to the conference room. He organized community engagement activities, such as assisting those in need and supporting charitable organizations. His goal was to help employees experience the importance of empathy and kindness firsthand, so they could integrate those values into their daily work. Through these comprehensive training sessions, John sought not only to improve the dealership's customer service, but also to transform the way his employees perceived their roles. The program was more than a professional development initiative. It was a journey of personal growth and a redefinition of their purpose in serving others. Not all employees embraced these changes. Some, including the blonde-haired salesman from the first day, failed to complete the training or to adjust their attitudes toward customer service. John was very clear in his decisions. I don't want to fire anyone, but if you're not willing to change, this is not the place for you. The departure of these individuals served as a wake-up call for the remaining staff. They understood that John demanded not just performance but also the right attitude. However, those who stayed grew tremendously. They didn't just become more professional employees, they also felt proud to work in an environment that emphasized respect and valued human connections. Whenever customers now walked through the dealership's doors, they didn't just see luxurious cars but also experienced a warm and welcoming atmosphere. Every staff member, from the receptionist to the sales team, greeted them with friendly smiles, genuine eye contact and natural greetings. The tone of interaction shifted entirely. Gone were the interrogative or judgmental questions, replaced with sincere and helpful advice. How can we assist in meeting your needs? Feel free to browse the models. If you need any additional information, we're always here to help. Customers now felt respected, regardless of where they came from or how they looked. A regular working-class individual received the same high-quality service as a wealthy entrepreneur. This transformation helped the dealership's reputation spread far and wide. Former customers returned, bringing along new friends, and left glowing reviews on forums and social media. The dealership had become a model of excellence, where every visitor felt valued and appreciated. Not only customers, but the dealership's employees themselves also felt the positive changes. John didn't just improve customer service, he created a workplace environment where people wanted to stay and grow long-term. He listened to employees' feedback, implemented clear policies for rewards and penalties, and provided opportunities for career development. Every month, John held small meetings to review performance and hear stories from his staff. Some employees shared that they had never thought selling cars could be a source of pride. With John's guidance, they not only learned how to serve customers but also how to become responsible and confident professionals. John was also quick to recognize and reward outstanding employees. During one meeting, he said, "The success of this dealership is not something I achieved alone. It is the result of all of you, those who dared to change and continuously strive to improve." These words became a powerful source of motivation for the team, fostering a sense of pride and commitment. Employees began to see their work not just as a job but as a meaningful contribution to a workplace they could be proud of. The dealership's sales skyrocketed within a few months of the reforms, not just because of the quality of the products but also due to the exceptional customer experience. Some customers returned not only to purchase another car but also to meet the employees who had assisted them, expressing gratitude for the helpful advice they had received. One customer even sent a handwritten letter to the dealership, sharing their satisfaction and surprise at the level of care and service they had experienced. This personal touch became a hallmark of the dealership, setting it apart as a model of excellence in the industry. A customer once shared on social media, "I walked into the dealership with some apprehension because I didn't look like the kind of person who could afford a car there. But what I received was the exact opposite. They treated me like a valued guest. That's why I decided to buy a car from them." Stories like this not only helped the dealership attract more customers but also built a strong reputation within the industry. Competitors began to take notice of John's methods and sought to learn from his model. The story of the black man who became the owner quickly spread far beyond the automotive industry. It wasn't just a tale of business success, but a profound lesson in overcoming prejudice and transforming mindsets. Business articles and magazines began profiling John as a modern leadership icon, a man who not only reformed a business but also uplifted the values of humanity in the workplace. John was frequently invited to conferences and events to share his journey. In every speech, he emphasized, "Differences are not barriers. Prejudice is the greatest obstacle we must overcome. Success isn't about money or fame. It's about the value and kindness you bring to others." With that spirit, the dealership and hundreds of small dealerships inspired by it became a symbol of transformation, not just in sales but in how a business could positively impact society. Customers leaving the dealership didn't just take home a new car. They carried with them a story of respect and trust. John Williams proved that true success does not discriminate by skin color, appearance, circumstances. Success comes from your willingness to change, to confront prejudice, and to create value through kindness.